So good evening, everyone. Today I want us to work on, let's quickly wrap up this Kubernetes package manager. Let's wrap up Kubernetes rather. And what I want us to cover today is this Kubernetes package manager called mchat. So let's do mchat today. Just like I've been saying, DevOps is something like the deeper you go, the simpler it becomes, because the tech world is always evolving, every day. What is the essence of what's the essence of revolving the tech that's already working? The essence is just to make what has been existing more easier. As you're introducing more solutions, more problems are being created, and for every solution is created, some problems are created too, and just keep improving day by day. So that's what mchat has actually come to help us with. So now, talking about mchat, somebody maybe in your mind you're like, okay, why mchat? What is mchat? Why mchat? How does it help us? Because Kubernetes, on the first note, has actually helped us in managing containers. The Docker containers we have, that's what Kubernetes is already helping us. So we've solved Docker containerizing Kubernetes. Then we're now bringing another tools again to come and help us with Kubernetes problem. For every solution, there's always a new problem. So why are we introducing mchat again after when Kubernetes is already solving one problem already? So that's what this topic is all about. It's about mchat. What is it doing? How does it work and all? So what is mchat? Quick one. mchat is it's more like you have your Kubernetes package manager. It's called a Kubernetes package manager. Okay, just like you have your RPM, that's Red Hat package manager. You have your Helm, which is CentOS package manager. You have your apps, which is Ubuntu package manager. The same thing you have M. M is also a Kubernetes package manager, okay? We have other package manager for Kubernetes. We also have Customize. We have, I think we also have OpenShift and all, but for now, we are going to be making use of mchat, okay? So now, how does mchat actually work? Mchat actually works in such a way, like, let's take, for instance, now, we have this configuration file. We have this configuration file for service. We have this configuration file for deployment. Now imagine you have all these files. You have dozens of microservices. If you know what microservices is another concept. It's another concept in web development, okay, or in application development, okay. So microservices work in such a way like you're abstracting different modules or different features of an application into a service, like registration service, like sign-in service, like onboarding service, like transfer service, like account credit, like credit card, so all those, all these things brought together is what actually makes up your taking your digital bank, for instance, like your OP, okay? So taking OP as an instance now, you are developing an OP app. That OP app you are seeing, if you look at it, there's a lot of things actually working together, okay? You have your registration, you have your sign-in, you have your referral, where you can have bonus, you have transfer, you have onboarding process, you have different features. You have credit, you have debit, you have credit card request, you have reports, you have support, you have all these things. All these features are abstracted into a service. Okay, so let's now say, and why do you have all those features abstracted? It's done in such a way like, let's assume a particular feature is down. That does not mean the whole application will be down. Because when you're developing your application, when a part is down, you just see the next thing is the whole application will just crash. But instead of it crashing, it just be an isolation, like you're isolating a particular problem. Now, in the process of even trying to solve that problem again, you're also introducing another problem. Because now, you're isolating different services, they're having different configurations, they're having different deployments, they're having a lot of things. That is, you need more hands. because it's going to be more stressful. So in such scenario, that's what mchat has actually helped you to do. So how does it help? With mchat now, we can have variables. With mchat, you can have variables with mchat. Okay, because if you are using this Kubernetes definition, this YAM definition, there's no how you can pass variables. I actually know sort of question that Precious might have been thinking in his mind, or probably has not gone to that, he has not got to that extent. But I know sooner or later he's still going to ask anyway, if he doesn't ask today. So you may not bother asking me that question. I'm answering that already now. So now the question is, how do you pass variable? Okay, how can you do loops? You know, how can you do conditional statements? Majority of these things, that's what your mchat has actually helped you in doing. So that's what we are going to be doing today. Okay. So if you want to learn more about mchat, you can just go to your Google, just mchat for beginners. But basically, I think that's everything. mchat for beginners. So should say something really simple that we just probably broaden your knowledge. So the first thing we want to do now is we actually want to install mchat, okay, on Ubuntu. So let's quickly install mchat on our Ubuntu machine. On Ubuntu. So so opening it, we will see different options. Is it this? No. Install MZM on Ubuntu. I'm actually trying to look for install either. I actually want to get the okay, yeah, this. So now let's install mchat. This guy shows you how to install mcli. M can be installed either from source or by pre-built binary. Okay, so now this is the binary way. You can go the binary way, or you can go with the script. So any which one is fine. But in my case now, which one should I go? Should I go for the binary? I think I'll prefer to go for the script. So this is the binary. So for the binary option, you just have to download the Helm. Okay, once you download it, you use wget to download. So this is the link. You have different, just click on that link. You have different binaries that you can download. So let's assume you want to download this. Let me download this ARM. Which one is this? Let me download this ARM. Well, that's not what I'm going to do. So I can just download one. So since I already have the link, so I can just copy that link. Sorry. I can just copy the link and use wget to download. But then I'll not be doing that. I'm going to follow this option. So let me just coil. So and get the scripts. Okay. So mind you, I'm actually doing mchat I'm installing it from M itself. Be sure not to go and download M2. There's a huge difference between M2 and M3, so that you don't have issues. So just try and download M3. Okay, so once I've been able to coil, so it downloaded this file. So let me set the permission for this file using chmod. See the file. So here's the file using the coil. So I'm setting my permission for chmod. Setting permission for the file. What? How is this slow? Okay, yeah. All right. So then let's run the script. Or let's cut the content of the script. So the script is actually the one that will actually help us in in installing anyway. It's a script that will help us installing the Helm. So this is the script for the Helm. We are not going to be going into details of that, but this is all the scripts to help us install the Helm. So all we just have to do is install the scripts. So to install the scripts, just run, just follow. It's just following the steps highlighted in the documentation. So let it install. Shouldn't take time. Okay, so it installed already. So let's see M version. Oops. Let me check M version. Scoop install. So all right, so let's check to know if it's installed. So M version or no flag version. Let me see, maybe one flag or no syntax. All right, so now we can see we have M installed. So this is version 3. So it actually means M is already installed. So the first thing you want to do is, let's assume you want to set the deployment file for your Helm. Like you want to create an M chart. So what do you want to create an M chart for? Maybe for a project. Well, let's use Nginx as an example here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a repository. Okay, so to create an M repository, how do you create an M repository? It's as simple as just running M create. So let's assume we just want to create a template because M actually works with templates. Okay, so by the time you do M create, it's going to create a template for you that you can just easily edit. All right. So now let's just create. It can be anything. Let me say M create DevOps. So what this is what this basically will do is just to create an M template for us, which we can edit. So now we have DevOps. I hope I know have, okay. So now this is it. So it created this for us. Now let's see into the DevOps. This is the Helm repository. So it creates different files for us. Now I'm going to explain what each file is doing. Okay, so if this first file is chat.yaml file. So this chat.yaml file is just for giving you information about the chat. Okay, so that's where you actually write details about the owner, the version, you know, the collaborators and all. So let's cut to see what is inside. So that's what the file. So now take note, we only have four different files here, 2 files and 2 directories. So this is chat.yaml. So you can just edit, look at this site, you can see the version, you can see the type is application. Remember, because of the hash actually means commented out, right? Don't forget. So the hash actually means commented out that this is nothing. Okay, so let's look at it again. So you have the description, you have the name, you have the API version, so the version of the M chart and all. So and just that's for the charts. Let's look at the next file. So the next file that I want to look at is the values.yaml file. So the values.yaml file is what you actually use in passing the variables, okay, or the configurations that you need.
Sorry, boss. Please, sorry. Forgive me. I had a network disconnection. Please, can you just summarize that chat again? What you did, like summary, please.
The chart is just like for your metadata. Okay, maybe some information, the owner of the chart, the version of the chart, what it's all about. So it's nothing serious. The description, so it's nothing really serious anyway.
Okay.
Yes. So
you downloaded it, right?
What is it?
You downloaded it?
No, I created it. So now, if you want to start with mchat, all you just have to do is to run this command, mcreate. So I created this command. The moment you run this mcreate DevOps, it's going to generate all these files for you.
Okay, okay.
So once you run create DevOps, it's going to create a directory called DevOps. And then I now cd into the directory. Look at it here. So inside the directory is now what we now have all these files. So you now have this chat.yaml that holds some information about the charts, but the main configurations are inside here. Okay. So yes. So now the values.yam file, let's cut the values.yam and see what we have inside. So this is the values.yam file now. So when you look at the values.yam file, it's just some configuration. Basically, most of the things you are even used to. Now, you know, when you are working with your deployment, you have replica, okay? Or even, let's say before we do that, so let me start with values.yam file. Let's do ls. So let's do the next one. Let's treat charts. Chart is the next one. So let's see into chart and see what we have. Chart. So what happened? Chart. Okay. Oh, okay. Chart. What chart is actually doing is probably what maybe you have some dependencies that you actually want to use inside your chart. Just like I was telling you now. Let's assume, you know, with mchat, you can deploy a whole stack, a whole project stack, a whole monitoring stack, a whole logging stack, a whole key management stack, with the database, everything, with the Redis, with the Kafka, with everything you'll be needing. Let's assume that you need a lot of conversions to be made. Maybe you need to connect with some dependent charts again and all. That's what this chart is all about. So it's actually used, you know, we are dealing with charts in them charts. So in these places where you have, maybe you want to set up your dependency charts. Okay, so you can just leave that for now. Okay, so let's just assume this is not a scope here because it's like a dependency chart. Probably some other things that we'll be needing, but it's beyond the scope for now. So let's just leave that. So as you can even see, it's empty, right? Chart is empty. So let's go to the next one. So the next one is templates. Let's see what we have inside templates. So inside templates now, we have different files. So you have notes. What is inside this note? Let me see. You have notes. Okay. So note is just to give you some information about what you can change, you know, what is really happening, what is what. But then look, just we are not going to undo that. Then we also have epas.template too. That's what we have inside epas.template. This is actually for activating anyway. Epas. But this is also still beyond, because you'll not be making use of it. So in this scenario now, let me just quickly show you what you have inside the helper.template. Where did it start? Sorry. Helper.template. So now, okay, it defines the name. It defines, it's more or less like the template anyway. But then I actually want to show you something. Look at what is happening here. Here now it actually defines, just like you have your YAM. So this is a way for specifying the YAM here. Okay, so now look at what is really happening. If you take a look at here, what I actually understand about this this template is it's basically for maybe for activating variables, maybe some variables you're needing, performing some conditional statements and all, which is still the same thing you'll be doing inside the other definitions, Kubernetes definition. You know, when you look at it here now, I'm sure you'll be familiar with some of the things you're seeing here. We are seeing if here, right? Look at this, if values.full name override. If you can see the people, if you have programming knowledge, you understand what this means. You have the if, you have the else, this is your if else statement, you know, but then just leave that. let's go into deployments here. You still see the same thing inside deployment. So let's start deployment, just like what we have in our previous class. In our previous classes, we have the deployment. So what we have in deployment, let's start deployment. Let's start deployment. So once you look at deployment now, this is also a template, just like I told you, it's a template on its own. Okay, so let's see what you have inside deployment. The same is just like the basic thing you also have inside your deployment, and probably maybe with some advanced definitions. Look at this, you have your definitions, you have your metadata, you have your label, you have your spec, you know. So now look at this line now, you see, if not values.autoscaling.enabled. Okay, so that's why you should run this. You have your replicas, and you know, this is your if block, you have your selectors, just like we have, then you have your templates. He said templates, now look at this, he said with values.pod annotations. Okay, so what this is telling you is, if you have a value set, I'm going to show you what this means. This value is actually referring to the file. Remember, I opened a file at first, which I call values.yaml file. That's where you do all these definitions. So now it's now saying, if you have a definition inside that values file called pod annotation, like if you have a definition inside the values.yaml file called pod annotation, then, you know, define it here. Okay, let me do this so that I can open it side by side. Let me open another one so that I can see what I'm talking about. CD DevOps. So you have LS, then okay, you have CD templates. Oh, no, not templates, values. So now what I want to do is I actually want to open the values.file, the values.yaml file is where you actually do the definition. Okay, and then you are now making use of those definitions inside. And I'm making use of those definitions inside the Kubernetes definition from your templates. Okay, am I communicating, please? Hello, am I communicating? Anyone hear me? All right.
Yes, we have.
All right. So inside the DevOps file, you know, we have this values.yaml file. This is the Windows I want to use to open the values.yaml file. So let's see. So let's start values.yaml. I can see. So now, when you look at this line now, it says, where's the line? Okay, look at this line. It said with values.pod annotation. So here now, there's a line called pod annotation. So look at it now, it's empty. So what this is telling you is, if there's a definition for pod annotation, it's going to insert it here as the same way you configure your YAML. I don't know if you've had time to actually study YAML. You know, like YAML actually work with spaces and indentations. So now, let's assume you have code annotation inside this value.yaml file, it's going to include it here. Just like I told you, mchat actually works with templates. So this is placeholder for the templates. Okay. So now, here now, since we don't have any definition, it's going to skip this line. That's why you have width. So since we are not making use of it, so this is basically telling you like it's going to be empty, so it's going to ignore that. No, it's going to ignore this particular part, okay, which is the annotation. Then you have the label. The label is also saying DevOps.selector labels. These selector labels, when you're talking about these selector labels now, selector labels is part of what you've actually defined inside inside the chart itself. Okay, so when we're talking about selector labels, you remember when we were talking about the selector labels the last time. Selector labels is actually used for actually labeling. It's actually used for labeling maybe an application, you want to refine deployment, that's what you use the selector labels for. So now this is this has been defined inside the chart itself when you were creating. Okay, so the next, let's talk about the spec. Now it's also referring to the spec. Now it's saying it with values.image pull secrets. So let's see inside the values.yaml file, let's see where we have image pull secrets. Do we have image pool secrets? We should definitely have. God, I wish this is my window so that I can use editor, because it's kind of stressful here. It's kind of stressful here. Let's look for image pool secrets. Look at this, is actually looking for values.image pool secrets. So let's check inside our values.yam file and look for image pool secrets. There should be a definition for image pool secrets. Let me use VI. Let me open the file instead of cat. It's kind of stressful for me like that. Okay, so all right. So look at it now, image pool secret. Probably maybe when you want to pull your image, maybe it's a private repository, then you want to do image. You need to put maybe your credentials. Okay, so this is what this is all about. You can easily define your secrets. So now, from Kubernetes definition, I don't know if you have time to, you can also check secret anyway. So how do you create secrets? How do you make use of secrets? How do you create secrets? How do you make use of secrets? So secrets is another Kubernetes definition where you can actually use to keep or to hold your sensitive data, like username and password. So once you create the secret, you just specify the secret name and the key. So it's going to fetch it from the Kubernetes clusters and use it in pulling the image. Okay, so that's what this is actually defining. Then you have your service account name. That's the service account name is that's, you know, the account, the access, you know, the role. How should I define it now? Like access to the cluster. Okay, which service account do you create? It's like an identity. It's an identity for Kubernetes. Okay, so you just set a role maybe inside the AWS IAM. Then create the service account. This service account, what permission is it having and all. So that's what this is also talking about. So you have your service account. So he said include service account name. But since we are not even going to use that, we also have security context. We are not working with any of those. But quickly, what I'm just trying to define to you here is how does the Helm chart actually works. So now these are some of the objects that you have. Oh, logged out. Let me restart the session. Let me close this. Thank you. So sudo su cd devops. So now okay, we are inside template. So I'm just taking us through this anyway. So now once you run mchat, it's going to create all these things for you. It's going to create all these things for you, you know, and then you can also add others. I can also create secret.yam file. That's for my secret. I can create ingress. I can create config map, you know, and add it here. But just assume these are just the basic templates. Just the same way you are going to create your deployment, like we had in last class. You have your deployment, you have your service. Like for instance, now you have your deployments here, you have your service, you also have your ingress. So ingress is for defining your DNS records, the HTTP, the HTTPS routes, you know, the SSL routes and all. You also have certificate objects, you have certificate objects, you have which other one again? We have a lot of them anyway, you know. Let me just cut this ingress. Let me cut ingress so that you can see what we have inside ingress. So ingress now, using this to actually study ingress will not be helpful. So you can just, if you have the time, you can also take time to look at ingress. You can take the time to look at ingress. Okay, but look at it now. You see the kind is ingress. You have the name. It's going to create a name, which is going to get from the chat name where you were creating it. You know, so values ingress.cls. So when you look at this now, when you look at our values.yam file, you see ingress.cls, you know. Let's look at it. You see ingress. Look at this is ingress definition. This is ingress. So now look at it now. This TLS is inside, you know, is indented. is like a child to this ingress. That's why you have it at dots. So it says ingress, ingress.tls. So all right. So yeah, cool. So now let's go. All those things I've been saying since morning were stories anyway. So let's go into details now. Let's work with those things and see how it actually works. Okay. So here's the second terminal. Come on, yeah, you. I read and install software updates. VM workstation. Skip this version. Okay, so why was he hiding before? Okay, found out. So let's restart. Restart session. All right, so all what we've been saying since, you know, just like I told you, this is where you have all your templates if you want to create a secret. So now you can have it doesn't really care. You can have any amount of templates here, okay? Any amount of Kubernetes definitions here. So the only thing, instead of you now run kubectl apply ingress, kubectl apply deployment, kubectl apply service. With mchat, you just run a single command. It's going to deploy all the definitions that you have inside this template directory. That's another beauty of using mchat. Okay, so now look at all these definitions. Now, these are all Kubernetes definitions that you'll be making use of. But now I'm not really, you know, I'm just starting with service. For this class, I'm just dealing with service and deployment because basically that's what you'll be needing for now. If you now want to go deeper, I actually don't want to go deeper. If you want to go deeper, another step you might want to consider is maybe service and deployment. Then you can also consider ingress. So ingress is for configuring your HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so if you really want to go deeper, you can just, by the time you have good grasp of Kubernetes, you can start going deeper gradually. Now, we have the service and deployment, okay? Now, let's now go and check out the values.yam file itself. That is the configuration. And then once you do the configuration, I'm going to make a simple deployment. Then I'm going to now teach you how you can easily deploy virtually any stack easily, okay? Like Azure-free. That's what this is going to help you do. When you look at it, you know, most of the time, I don't really go into details of these things anymore. Why? Because mchat has actually helped us. I don't really go into details, deployment, I'll start creating deployment file, I'll start creating service file. I don't, because mchat has done all these things. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's just keep going. Most of the time, you would have been hearing me, oh, I'm always saying, I don't. Yes, I don't. But it's easy for me because you must have you must have a background knowledge of these things. But as you're doing it, you won't be doing it anymore. Like even those definitions, how to define Kubernetes object, I don't know it offhand. But if I need it, I just go online. So that's why it's always like this at times. I don't memorize it. Okay, so CD DevOps. LS. So now let's, okay, where are we? Is this one I need? Okay, so now let's do a simple configuration. Now let me cut this YAML file and take it to Sublime so that you can easily see. And take it to Sublime. So I'm going to copy from here. I'm going to copy from here and create a new Sublime. Let me change it to YAML file so that it can come out well.
Boss, please, I want to add something.
Okay.
This EC2, can't we install VS Code on it, then automatically open, like use a command to open our file
you don't
to
have access to
PS?
GUI on EC2 instance.
Oh.
You don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Linux is actually a terminal in its own. It's a CLI, so you don't have GUI. All right, so now this is what we have. This is the values.yam file itself. You remember your replica count. Okay, so how many replica do you want to have? Okay, let's start with 1. So the next one is values. Okay, inside the values is image. So which image do you want to deploy? The repository, nginx. Okay, then look at this now. It's telling us like if not present. So if not full policy, if not present, there's always another one, always. Okay, so this is tag is okay. What is the tag? You know, latest version 1.1, version 1.2, and all. Then you remember how these things actually work. Look at this one now. This is at the edge, no index. So if you want to refer to it inside a template file, oops. If you want to refer to it inside your template, your M template, you just refer it using values.images. Okay, just like we have here. So values.image, okay, values.image, the parent is image. Let's assume you want to reference this repository now inside the template. You now be image.repository, image.repository. I don't know, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say here?
For me, I don't think so.
Okay, let me come again. Look at this. Let me open this service.yam file for you to see. At service.yam file now. Service.yaml. So I'm going to copy this now and also open it inside Sublime. Okay, so I'm going to change it to YAML file so that it can come out well. Okay, so look at this now. Look at definition API. You know, this is something you are familiar with. You have your client service, you have your metadata, which is the name of the chart, you have your label, which is also gotten from the chart itself. So now, look at this now. Spec. Look at the spec now. It says spec. You know, normally when you want to define service file, you define this spec, right? Then you now do type. Type, you now say service, right? That's what we have here. And we're defining Kubernetes objects. You want to define service, kind, service, right? So now the same thing here now. Instead of now putting hard coding, you know, we call it hard coding. Instead of now hard coding type equals to service, you are not hard coding. You're using, they call this Golang templates. So you're using a template to actually create a placeholder for the variable. So now what you just do is, now it's referring to values.service.type. So what this is actually telling you is, it's going to look inside the values.yam file, okay, and look for service, and look for this service definition, and the child is type. So let's see. So now, this is what it actually means. So it's going to look for all the parents. You know, this is parent, this is another parent, this is another parent, because it has no indentation. This is a parent, this is a parent. So now the parent is service. Look at it now. You see, we have service. Now, but what it's actually referring to is service.type. That is, the type is also a child of that service, which is this. So now what this is actually telling you is the type is cluster IP. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So now, what this is actually mean is, you know, like this is the values is where you actually do all the configurations that you want to change, you know, instead of hard coding it inside your service.yam file. So you just create all the variables inside a values.yam file where you can easily reference them inside the Kubernetes definition. So please don't misplace it. This is service.yam file, which is actually, it did a lot of definitions using Golang templates. Oh, okay. So now the Golang template is actually referring to its configuration from values.yam file. Okay. So now look at this now. Service, this is going to be service.port equals to 80, which is yes, okay, look at ports now. For the place of ports, look at it. You know, when you're doing your service definition, you have ports. So you say port, okay, so what is the port value? It says service.port. So what this is actually telling you is that this is 80. So instead of coding 80, it's going to get the values from here. So what this is actually saying is you can have a very big project. So instead of you just manually opening the file one by one and be changing, you can just have all the configuration inside a single values.yam file. And all the definitions is going to be getting its value from that values.yam file. Let's take a look at another variable again. Okay, let me open another definition so that you can see. Let me open deployment. At deployment so that you can see. So this is deployment. This is deployment. Let's open and see. So now when you look at this now, you know, your normal definition kind is deployment, meta, you have your name, you have your label, you know. So now look at the specification now. This is now, look at it, it's using if not, values.autoscaling, like if not, just like you have in your programming, if English, in English, if this is not. So it's telling you like, if there's nothing like values.autoscaling.enabled, so use this, create replicas. But if it exists, it's going to skip this block. So if actually, so take notes, if not is different from if. This one is if not. Another place now, we will definitely see if. Let's look for if statement somewhere else. Okay, there's no if statement any other place. We actually check another file, but this is if now. So let's look at the value. If not value.autoscaling. So let's look for autoscaling.enabled. Look at it, autoscaling. The parent is autoscaling and the child is what? The child is enabled. So let's look for it. Autoscaling, look at it, autoscaling. So it's telling us like autoscaling enabled is false. So that is, this is to tell you like this one has passed. Yes, it. This is to tell you like this one has passed since it is false. Not enabled. Okay, so then it's going to implement this, which is replica, which is what we actually define. So this is telling like if this is not, implement this replica, just like you are doing programmatically. So it's telling you like, if this is not, then your replicas will be what you set inside your values.yam file, which is 1. Remember, the first thing we actually open inside the values.yam file is, here's itself, my mistake. Look at it. So replica counts. Is it replica count? Yeah. So it's saying, if not, then it's use values.replica count, which is 1. Okay, then you have your selector label, then you have another line, values.pod annotation. You have another line, which is values.pod annotation. Let me change this, that's why I'm not saying it very well. See the arm now. So you have values.pod annotation. So he said with values.pod annotation, so just like English, use values.pod annotation and annotation. So annotation is just a way for extending some configurations, which I think I will still skip that too for now, but it's a way for actually extending your Kubernetes objects. Okay, so now since we don't have annotation, here, so let me just tell you, annotation is just a way for, let's assume in a scenario where there's something also called sidecars. You call it sidecars. It might be an advanced part anyway. So when you're talking about sidecars is just a concept of sidecars, like sidecars, something that is running side by side. Okay, you have a pod, running along with the pod is a sidecar. So it's like another pod running, it's just like it's following the original pod. So with that, you can use annotation for defining a sidecar. That is another level on its own, okay? So let's just still skip that for now, all right? So let's also look for another values inside our YAM file. So we have pod annotation. Let's look for another one. We have image pool secrets. Now it's telling us like if with values.image pool secret. Okay, this is with values.image pool secret. But since image pool secret is also empty, there's image pool secret. Image pool secret is the parent. So let's look for image pool secret. Okay, look at it now. It's a parent on its own, which is also it's empty here. You can see it's actually empty as well. Okay, so now let's look for service account. This is not referring to values. This is from the template from the chart itself. So I'm just looking at values now. Look at this now. It's referring to values.port security context. So that one too, port security context is also empty. So that's just how it actually works. Like, it's just a way for actually defining variables. Now, you may not also have a good grasp. Maybe by the time you download our first chart and do some configurations, you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay. So before we do that, let me just try and deploy this simple Nginx, okay, and see how it actually works. Let me just deploy a simple Nginx server for you, and you see how everything actually works together. So let's just go.
Okay, boss, I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so this I actually looked up on creating a secret file. I tried deploying Mongo and the Mongo Express, right? So I had to use I looked up on using a secret, like, you know, the secret, like what you said, secret is where we store our passwords, like secrets and credentials, right? So instead of displaying that inside our, like the deployment file, configuration file, the manifest, right?
Yes.
Then inside the secret file, the secret file, the deployment, we actually put them inside the secret. Then we use the property values.
Okay.
It's inside the deployment.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm understanding. Then in the deployment, there's what I read, like you know, putting all document, like putting all your configuration files as one, dividing them using hyphen, right?
Okay.
So in that like the in the secret this thing file, the secret YAML file, we use the property value as a, you know, to be able to identify, like select, like linking the both files together. Right? Is it the same concept here?
Of course, yes. That is what this is actually all about anyway. So let's assume you actually have a secret definition. Let's assume you also have a secret definition. So now what you're just going to do now in this scenario is you just have to create a secret definition, maybe a secret ref. There's this, they call secret ref. So you have secret ref. You have secret ref, which is called the name. You call it name. Okay. Then you can also now have, let's say secret ref. You have a name. Then you also have key. You also have key. There's a definition. Then you also have value.
Value from, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, is it value from? Yeah, value from. Okay, yeah. So you just define it here. So once you just define it, it's just going to add it into here's it. No, this is supposed to be inside. This is supposed to be inside the values.yam file. Sorry, this is supposed to be inside the values.yam file, not here. So this is supposed to be inside the values.yam file, which is here. Okay, so image pool secrets. So let me see how it's expecting it. Let me see, it depends on how it's actually expecting it. So now we have with values.image pool secrets to YAML. Okay, so it's the same way you actually make use of your secrets, which you have your secret ref, which you have values, you have your key, and then you have value from. Okay, you have the key, you have the name, the key from, and the value from. Yeah. So that is the same thing. That's why when you look at this line now, It's telling you like to YAML. It's trying to tell you like this is also a YAML. It's expecting it. Here's it. Sorry. Here's the secrets. Okay, yeah. Look at it now. So this is just trying to convert anything it's seeing. Like it's trying to tell you like this is also a YAML file. Sorry, this is also in a YAML format. And when you look at this now, it's telling you indent. So indent actually means 8 spaces, kind of 8 spaces. Let's count here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see now? You see how it actually works? I don't know if you understand, like YAML actually makes use of index. Look at this now. Yeah, when you look at this now, this is 6. You know, it's a child of this match label. Enter now. Let's take it to the edge. Space. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see how it actually works. So what is actually telling it like this is a YAML. I'm expecting a YAML object, okay, and give it 8 indentation. If this is not there, it's going to start it from here, and there will be problem. You know, YAML actually works with indentation, so that's why you have this. Okay, so now without further ado, let's move on. Let's do a simple deployment. Let's not talk much. Let's do a simple deployment. So now, all I'm going to do is, remember, the only thing I just did so far was create DevOps. Okay. Now, the only thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to update the image. Let's assume I have any image. All I just have to do is open the values.yaml file. Opens the values.yaml file. What image am I expecting? I can put my image here. The image I have in my repository. Let's assume, okay, let's use the Nginx. Let's use official Nginx. Okay, let's use official Nginx as it is, because this is a template. So by default, it just use Nginx as default. Are you getting it? But then you can change it to anything. Okay, let's do our first deployment as Nginx, and then we'll update the same image. All right, so now Nginx, if not present, tag like that. So we have image pool secret, we are not doing anything. The service accounts true, okay. Let's just use true. Let's leave it as it is. So we are definitely not changing anything. And then here we have cluster IP. You remember the concept of your cluster IP. Remember the concept of your cluster IP. You can also use your node IP. You can also use your node IP, okay? But then I think it's better I use node ports. Let me use node ports so that I'll be able to access it, since I'm not going to use ingress. You know why I'm not using ingress? I'm not using ingress because I don't have any DNS. I don't have any domain name, okay? So we are going to be using IP. But okay, I'll try to explore the ingress so that you can see, because it's also necessary anyway. It's a very good one. So we have ingress. So look at this now. It's telling you ingress enabled. So false. This actually means we don't actually want to make use of any ingress. That's why you have false here. Okay. Then class name. What's this class name? Except I look at. You know what? These values does not really matter. Is how it's actually consumed inside those objects, inside those Kubernetes definitions that matters. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. This class name now, it doesn't really matter what it is, but the only thing I just have to worry about is how is it consumed? Okay, this is ingress, right? Let me go to the Kubernetes definition and see how it is consumed inside ingress, because I can see this is ingress. So I'm just going to go inside the ingress and see what it's expecting. Okay, let's see. Sudo cd DevOps template. Let's cut ingress.yaml file. So now this is ingress.class name. So let's look for class name. Let me open it as VI. Let me open VI. That is, I can easily see VI. So let's see class name. Okay, look at this now. So this is ingress class name. Okay, so this is ingress class name anyway. I actually don't know what this actually means anyway. I don't use it anyway. But then I know with mchat you can definitely define some functions too. So probably that's what I'm actually referring to here. So you have your ingress class name, you have the values ingress TLS. Let's see what we have inside the values.file. Is inside the values.yam, you have the enable, you have the class name, you have the annotation. So this is your annotation. So for this annotation now, it depends on what certificate authority you are using. Let's assume you want to use Let's Encrypt. So you actually do this definition. That's you have your pod annotation, which is kubernetes.io.ingress.class. Let's assume we already have our ingress controller defined. Then you can definitely use this, but now we not have ingress. I don't really want to go deep into this because it might be a little bit complicated. I just want you to go deep to be going into these things gradually. Okay. So with this now, this is actually refined. There's something we also called ingress controllers. Okay. So with ingress controllers is what to actually use in the process of actually managing your ingress. Okay, like your TLS definition. So you use this annotation for actually defining all those. Okay, but then we are not going to be doing that now. Let's just work with our service. Then you have your host, which is still, look at the host now. This is a DNS. So this is chat example.local, blah, blah, blah. But then we have our ingress as disabled. Okay, so let's just leave it as it is. Then this is also TLS. This is just for the ingress, and this is for the TLS configuration. But then we are just going to leave that as it is. I think we are not really changing anything here. We are not changing anything here. So after I just go to the Nginx, I'm just going to deploy. Let's just save as it is. Let's save as it is and make a deployment. All right. So how do you deploy? To deploy is as simple as install. So for you to just install this now, it's as simple as you just running your install command. Okay, so, okay, yeah, something we want to do is, another thing you might want to consider is you want to lint. So linting is just a way for testing, like, okay, hope there's no error in this thing I'm running. That's linting. So you can just do it, let's lint and see what we have. Error 1 chat linted, okay. Error, unable to check chat.yam file, start Nginx, no such file directory. Where do we have this? Unable to check chat.yaml file, start Nginx, chat.yaml, no such file. Have I changed anything? Oh, sorry, mlint DevOps. Mlint DevOps. Okay, let me see. I think I have to go back one step. Let's see what we have. Let me try this mlint DevOps. Okay. Now we have 1 chat linted, 0 chat failed. Okay, so it actually means this is okay, and these are just a few warnings. Does not conform to Kubernetes naming requirement, blah, 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 blah. So if you have the time, you can just want to do that. You might want to check that to see everything is fine, but this is warnings. This is nothing catastrophic. So now let me go back into my DevOps directory. Let me go back into my DevOps directory. So lint is just for, it's just like you just performing test. Is everything you've done, is it correct? Then another thing is dry run. There's something we call dry run. So dry run is just, okay, just run it. Simulate running, but don't run, don't deploy. Just simulate. So this is simulation. That's what this dry run is all about. Like you just want to see. You just want to see without deploying. So let's assume you just want to see without deploying. That's what you use your dry run for. So let's see. So now look at it, installation failed. We have something failed there. Why? I'm going to run it again. All right, so let's see what we have. It says something is failing. Installation failed. Non-absolute URL should be in form of repo name, path to chart, got nginx. Oh, because I'm just copying and paste. Sorry. So m install. What is the name of the chart? Okay. So now this m install command. Let me quickly tell you about m install. M install command is m. You know, look at this. This is the command and this is the action. Okay. Now we are doing m and the action is install. After the install, the next thing it's actually expecting is the name of the chart. Okay, so it's actually telling you like what is the name of the chart that you want to deploy. And what I did here was I actually specified nginx, which is actually not nginx. So that was why we actually got this problem. What I'm supposed to do right now is I'm supposed to tell you like the chart is in my present working directory. This is the chart. So what I'm supposed to do is like the chart is in my present working directory, which I can just specify by / ./. And then the name that I want to give to that deployment. You know, like I can deploy nginx, I can deploy MySQL, I can deploy MongoDB, I can deploy Elasticsearch, I can deploy, and then I have to give it name. So this is the name that I want to give to the deployment. So let me explain again. M is the command, install is the action. These are just the property, dry run, you know, like install without doing the real thing. I just want you to simulate. Then the next thing it's expecting is the name of the chart. Where's the chart that is located? The information about the chart, which is this. Where is it located? It's in my present working directory. Okay, then what is the name that I want to give to the deployment, which is nginx. Okay, so I have another error. What's this error? Non-absolute URL should be in the form of repo name, path to chart, got nginx. M install. So trying to see what's happening here. It's not supposed to be actually. Let me see. Field generate name. M install. Is it named first? Oh, I think it's named first. So I think it's name of the deployment first. Right? And then the chart location. Yes, okay. So it's actually the name of the deployment first, then the chart location. Okay, so look at this now. It has been able to actually deploy without deploying the real thing. Look at it now. Let me deploy again and see. So it's going to show the output of all the configurations. So let's take a look now. You know, what we were saying before was templates. Now, let's see what we have. You know, everything has actually been set. This is the values.yam file. It's telling us it's empty. Okay. Then the next thing is the pod itself. So look at the pod itself. That's the pod definition. And this is how it actually differentiates definitions. If you want to differentiate definitions, you use, wow, screen don't score. So if you want to differentiate definitions, you actually use these hyphen, 3 hyphens between definitions. That's how you can have different definitions inside a single file. You just have to put this in between those files. So look at these deployments now. You see all those blah, blah, blah that we're seeing, curly braces and all. It has actually replaced their value. Look at the name, nginx DevOps, you know, the labels managed by mchat, the version as seen in the chart itself. You know, you have the selector, you have the replicas, you have the name, you have the instance, you know, you can see everything now. So it's just like, okay, do a dry run, like simulate. I want to see what is going to happen. Maybe I had the correct thing. So after it's completed, it's going to show this output. Okay, so this is just an instruction of how to get the pod name. This is export pod name and also get the pod and, you know, how to actually run the Kubernetes. Okay, so let's see. Let's deploy the real thing now. So now we are going to deploy the real thing without using the dry run. Okay, so it's supposed to be the name and then the location of the chart. Okay, so let's deploy this now. Oh, before we do that, let's see. How do you close? Before we do that, let's see what we have. So we can see kubectl get ports, default, okay, default. Since we are not using any namespace, so default. So this is what we have. We have bootcamp, okay. So now let's do install. Let's do install. Install. Okay, let me just paste install nginx. Installation failed. A lowercase. Oh man. So you know the problem here. When I was creating the chart, I actually used uppercase. So it's complaining a lowercase. So its subdomain must consist of lowercase alphanumeric. So in such scenario now, I think let me just create a new M chart. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is it okay? I think okay. Yeah, you can see the complaint. Actually complain because I'm using uppercase in DevOps when I was creating the M chart. So
yeah.
So now I just want to delete the DevOps now. It's one hyphen. RM hyphen RF. DevOps, okay. So now let's do M create. Let's get a new M chart. Let's call it DevOps. Okay, and let's seed into the DevOps. Let's do VI into DevOps. Please, it's going to stop now. It's going to stop now. Please, let's join immediately. I want us to finish this tonight. Okay, so we have image. So we have everything just as it is. We are going to deploy it as it is like that. We are not changing anything since it's just going to deploy nginx. So let's deploy as it is. Install nginx. So now I run the install nginx. It's telling us like it's still in use. You know, I used it earlier. So since I'm not using it, I can just do uninstall. The one I used earlier, this one that is causing error, I think it's still having some of its remnants roaming around. So uninstall nginx. So let me just uninstall so that I can use it. Okay, uninstall. So the command for uninstalling is nginx. You know, normally in kubectl, you do kubectl delete. So yeah, you can just delete. Like now, you know, when you're managing your Kubernetes object deployment service, if you want to delete in the middle, you say kubectl delete service, kubectl delete deployment, kubectl delete pod. Now, since you have everything inside a single template, all you just have to do is uninstall nginx. It's going to remove everything. Okay, so now that's what we just did now. Uninstall nginx. Now, I just want to install it again, which is install nginx. All right, so here we go. He said, now, after deployment, it gave us some instruction how to access those, how to access the nginx. Since I'm deploying nginx, how to access the nginx. So he said, get application URL by running these commands. Okay, so he said the first thing I should run is get pod name. So it wants us to get pod name. So when you look at this command, get pod name space, and then doing some filtering by labels and all. So with that, it's going to get us the pod name. Let me run the command. Now let me echo it. Look at it now. What this actually did was it actually run this command and save the output inside a variable called pod name. Okay, so let me echo that variable now. I'm going to echo the variable. So you can see this is the name of the pod. Okay, so if I do kubectl get pods now, you see the pod running with that same name. Look at it. So look at it now. Okay, so now there's another instruction. That's the first one. It said export container pod. So the next one is telling us is we should export the container pod by running this. Look at it. Get pods, namespace default, then the pod name, then it did some filtering container pods. Okay, and it's going to save it inside the variable called container pods. If I also echo the container pods now, you see it as well. Let me echo the container pod so that you can see. Port 80. So it's telling us like, oh, this thing is running on port 80. Okay, so echo visit this to use your application. Okay, so now since we do not have Kubernetes on our local name on our local machine, okay, since our Kubernetes is hosted somewhere, how can we access it on our machine? Okay, so one way to actually do that is there's something we actually called pod forwarding. Let's do pod forwarding here now. So let's do pod forwarding. So pod forwarding is, okay, please, every traffic to this pod, to this particular port, please forward it to this cluster. This is it. kubectl default pod forward. Look at this is the command, pod forward. So with the pod name, you know, it's saying, okay, forward the pod name on this port to this port. Now let's do the pod forwarding now. Let's do the port forwarding, Now, look at it. It's saying all the traffic coming to this particular, coming from this port 8080, we are forwarding it to port 80. Now, what this is actually telling us is we can now access this thing on our local host now. For us to access it on local host, let me start another instance. Because I cannot access it here because that's not my local host. You know, we are using EC2 instance. Our local host is EC2 instance. So now I can easily do coil 127.0.0.1 port 8080. All right, so you see, we are up and running. If I stop this now, it will be down. But the connection refused. Okay, so let me start it. Let me forward every traffic, anything calling port 8080, just forward it to the Kubernetes cluster on port 80. That's what this command is actually doing. Port forward, they call it port forward. So with port forward, I can do port forward for service. I can do port forward for pod. I can do for deployment. Run it again. So you see it in action. Coil. And then you see up and running. Any question? Come on, I've done magic, right?
It's not magic really, but it's when you are learning a new thing. So you just have to concentrate and just try to grab some things.
Exactly, and practice.
Yes,
and
sir.
That's why I'm doing it in your presence, so that there's nothing like magic. So you can see the only thing you just have to do is practice. So all I just did was I didn't even do anything different. All I did was create. All I did was mcreate DevOps, and then I did install. I didn't even change the value yet. So I've not even done anything. I did install. And then after install, it gave me these instructions here. These are the instructions. After look at it, after running the install, it gave me this instruction. Get the application URL by running this. So just run all these commands. That can be on a single line. So where is it? Look at it now. Just run all these commands. The first one is export the pod name, export the container name, and then use the pod name here in our command and the port, which is port 80. We use port forward. So port forward is just a way for forwarding. Anyway, so how can I better say this now? Let's assume you actually want to forward, like you don't have ingress or you don't want to use node ports. Remember, we don't have node ports. Let's assume we have node. If you're using cluster IP, there's no how you can access the application because you're using cluster IP. Cluster IP actually means you can only access this particular services from inside your cluster only. So for you to be able to access it from outside, you have to use port forward. Do you get it now? You remember when we are doing our values.yam file, let's do values.yam file. Let me open the values.yam file. Look at the values.yam file. Let's go to the values.yam file where we had service. Remember, this is cluster IP. Cluster IP actually means you can only access the application from inside the cluster. That's what that means. Now, let me change this to node port and deploy. Node port. That is, so with node port actually means we can access it on our node ports. You remember I explained these things in our previous class, right?
Yeah.
Now, we already have a deployment already using cluster IP. Let me test it with our node port so that you can see. Let's see our node IP. Let's see our node IP. Okay, so this is one of the nodes. This is one of the nodes. Now, let me copy this and try to access it on port 80. Nothing will happen. Port 80. Nothing will happen. Okay, now, since you see now I already changed this to node ports. Now, let's try to update that change. For us to update now, it's as simple as just setting M upgrade nginx. So instead of using M install, M install is you are installing something new. So all I just have to do is M upgrade. So this is all I have to do, M upgrade to actually upgrade the changes. I made changes to my M values. So let's upgrade. So M upgrade, the first name is nginx. Okay, nginx, and then our chart is our present location. Okay, M upgrade. So now let's see the changes. I've updated it to node ports. You see the instruction has even changed. Get application URL by running this command. Node ports. This, you remember the earlier one, it's not using node ports, it was using cluster IP. Now, let's see how to get, let's get the node ports now. This is the command for getting the node ports. So this is exporting the node ports. If I echo this now, you see, it's going to give us the node ports. Echo 32177, okay? So now let's get the nodes too. Let's get the nodes. It's going to give us the nodes by running this. Okay, so let's echo the node IP. All right, so now this is actually telling us that this is the node IP. Okay, so now let's now run this last command. It's going to give us the complete address now. All right, so it's telling us like, oh yeah, you can reach me on this. Let's go to our browser. That's one of the node IP. Let's go to our browser and then put that. Come on, please. Please. Okay, let me go back. Let me see if the node IP is actually correct. Oh, why is it giving me node IP? Wrong node IP. This is the node IP originally. This is the node IP. So where is it getting this one from? Hold on. I'm going to investigate, but let me just use the what?
The difference of, can we just get the IP from, can you just get the IP from your interface?
Yeah, that's what I just did.
Interface.
So look at it now. So this is the original IP now. It's up and running. You know, that's because you are using node ports. Okay. So what's other thing now? All right. So now you can also change our image. Probably you can set a lot of things. You can set variables. Look at it now. Look at this now. I'm saying set image.tag. So what this is actually telling us, if you look at this values.yam file, if you look at the values.yam file, you know we do not have any tag, right? We don't have any tag. The space of tag is actually empty. The space of tag is actually empty. Look at this now. So let's assume you want to set a variable for the tag. You can just say image.tag. Look at it, image.tag, because you know the tag is on that image. It's a charge for image. That's why you have image.tag. So you are saying image.tag now, you are setting it using your command line as 1 point. This is an interactive way for setting those values. Does it make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Just like how they formerly we used to do nginx : then the tag. This one is image.tag equals
exactly.
to version. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just setting the version. Let's not do that now. So then we have history. So history is, you can see all the previous histories that you have. Let's run the history command and see what we have. So the name of deployment is nginx. Mind you, the name of the deployment is nginx, right? Deployment is, we call it deployment like the name of the application deployment. Don't mix deployment as in Kubernetes definition for deployment, the whole application. Please don't mix it together. So like I'm using the name of our deployment now is nginx. I mean the name of our end deployment is nginx. All right. So now let's check the deployment history. So this is telling us like we've deployed it twice. This is the first version, which was deployed 2028, then another one 2037. Okay. So then you can also roll back. Then another thing you can do is you can now roll back. Like, okay, guy, please return back to our version 1. You remember our version 1 was just to be able to access on our cluster IP, right? I can just say, guy, please roll back to my version 1. And it's going to roll back to version 1. Then you have your values as the cluster IP, just like the way we had it before. So that's what it is. Probably maybe you did the deployment and you know it didn't go well, and or you can just easily roll back. That's another beauty of mchat. It actually helps you to easily roll back, you know, without much worries. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
All right. So now what this just did was, okay, roll back to the former deployment that we only add cluster IP instead of node IP. Now let me try to access this again. It should be down since we already rolled back. You see, it's already down. It's no longer loading. So it's actually called it revision 3. So let me roll back to revision 2 again, so that I can get my node IP, so that I can access it on node IP. You see it's down. So let me try to roll back. So I told you mchat is to make your life easy. It's still rolling back. So let's just give it some time. Oh, probably it has changed the ports. Echo container ports. File echo container ports. pod name. I actually want to get the pod name. This is still the old one. Okay, so without wasting much of our time, let's just say pipctl get svc. So I can get, okay. So now it has actually changed the ports, which is now 32273. No, since we did the rollback, till now we are back up. Okay, so that's that. Then the next one. Now let's now go to installing already defined official Helm charts. Just like I told you, you can deploy anything. Let's assume you have an application that you want to deploy, maybe a monitoring stack. There's this monitoring stack, you call it Elasticsearch. We make use of it. If you go and look at my LinkedIn profile, you see, oh, yeah, I can do Elasticsearch. My brother, it's so easy. Just do Elasticsearch Helm chart. So don't just do Elasticsearch Helm chart. So now this is the repo. This is the repo. I can just go to the repo, or even go to the Elasticsearch itself. It also has Bitnami. Okay, so Bitnami is also a service provider for Helm charts. So where you have your Helm registries. So, but okay, let me just use this Bitnami for us. Let me use this Bitnami straight. So how do you install Helm charts? Okay, for Elasticsearch. You see, this Elasticsearch, they call it a login stack that it's so robust. You can do a lot of things, man. You can just play around with it. Maybe when you actually deploy it, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to deploy. So simple, whereas it's a very big solution. I can even tell you some of the amazing things I've done, like they were so beautiful. Okay, so now let's try to deploy. So now if you want to deploy an official Helm chart, okay, maybe for any tool, let's assume you want to do Vault, you just search for Vault Helm chart tool. You see it online. Vault Helm charts. You see it online, you know, just one command and then you're up and running, probably with a few changes. So now for you to deploy the Elasticsearch, this is the procedure. It said you have to first add this repo. So you have to run this repo at Bitnami. Look at the site. This is Bitnami. So you have to add Bitnami repo to your repo. Okay. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this. Let me see. Helm list. So this is what we have before. So now now that I've copied that, what's that? Let me copy again. I'm going to copy this, just add the repo. So if you want, these are just simple steps that I just do, virtually anything that you want to deploy. You don't have to really worry about, oh, do configuration, set database, set this. So everything is already done for you, my brother. That's the beauty of Helm chart. So that's why myself, I don't really worry much about those things. So Helm install my release. So now, after adding the Helm repo, you can also do Helm repo list. Yeah. So you can see all the repos you have. You see Helm repo list. Helm repo list. You see all the repos you have. Okay, now, so you see, you said because I have Bitnami, I can also add different kind of repos. But now I only have Bitnami repo. Okay. So now let's install the Elasticsearch itself and install my release name. So we are going to change my release name to something more friendly anyway, or something more suitable for us. Let's call it, we call it ELK stack anyway. I'm going to call it ELK. What is ELK? This Elasticsearch is, it's a stack on its own. It has like 3 different tools combined together. That's like 3 different tools combined together. But then anyhow, so now I'm still going to explain some things to you anyway, but let's just install first. So now look at it now, Helm install. I gave it a name. Okay, the name of the chart is ELK, and get the Helm charts from Bitnami Elasticsearch, which is what we actually listed here. Okay, so now I'm just following this. So once I hit the enter, it's giving us instruction. Look at the instruction now. It says, warning, Elasticsearch requires some changes in the kernel of the host machine to work as expected. I'll just ignore that. This chart uses privilege in its container to change those settings. You can just read all those things too, Sha. So now to access from outside the cluster, execute the following. Look at this now. It's telling us like to access from outside, we have to port forward, which is it's actually a painful thing for me, right? Because port forward can only be accessible on our local machine. Okay, let me port forward so that you can see, and then try to access it from another machine, from another instance. So I'm going to start another terminal. It starts. It's already listening on port 9200. So now let's coil. Just that coiling here will not let you see the efficacy of the Elasticsearch itself. So I'm not happy with this, but let me just show you before we change. So now, we have, okay, this is Elasticsearch, okay. Then we have something that we actually call Elasticsearch. Now you are getting this. Why? Because Elasticsearch is an intermediate, or should I say intermediary. Now, when you're talking about logging stack, we have 3 levels. The level 1 is there's something we call log forwarder. There's something we now call the log receiver. So Elasticsearch will receive the log, then that one is going to receive the log, perform some things, some filtering and all. Then we now have something, Kibana. We call it Kibana. That is the dashboard itself. Okay, so Kibana is the dashboard itself. How can we access Kibana? Now, let me see how to access Kibana. It's supposed to show it somewhere here. It's Kibana that we actually need. That is where the user interface is. So if you want to learn more about this, you can just read about it. What this class is basically all about is M charts. Okay, so with the understanding of M chart, you can easily deploy virtually anything. Now, I'm trying to get the port for the Kibana. Okay, I can't see the Kibana ports. Okay, let me go to the service here. So let me go to the service here and see what we have. kubectl get SVC. I think I should have this is ELK. We have here the Elasticsearch. What's this? 9200. How do I access Kibana? Admitting each one. I think this thing doesn't install Kibana. Okay, fine. No props. Now, this takes us to another level anyway. I've been able to deploy this, but when you look at the official M chart itself, okay, let me see if I can even make life easier. Let me see if I can make life easier. Before going deeper, let me just show you this. It's still the same thing. Well, maybe I may not implement. I may just explain. So the same thing where you have your M chart, M repo add, we added Bitnami, then we have the repo update. You can also update, then install. In that Bitnami, we also have Nginx. Okay, so we also have Nginx, so you can install Nginx. Then another thing that you can now do is, we are actually getting, we are actually using the M chart as it is from the registry, from the M registry. But then one thing you can do is there's something we call override value. God. I just hope this part is not going to get complicated. Remember, when we actually did our first configuration, we actually had values.yaml file that actually house all the configuration changes. Okay, the same thing. So instead of having the default values, okay, let me make it simpler. Let me make it simpler for you. Come here now. This is GitHub. This is M charts for GitHub. Okay, so when you look at this now, I think this the site tendency, this is duplicated. Okay, this is not duplicated yet. Okay, all right. So let me see if I can just clone this. I think I don't like this. The reason I didn't like this is because I'm looking for complete. This is actually detached. Now I see why it's not working. Okay, there's one that we actually have elastic stack. This one that we have here is just Elasticsearch. It doesn't deploy all the stack. What I want is a full stack deployment of Elasticsearch. This is getting more complicated. I didn't really want to get it more complicated. I didn't really want it to get complicated. All this is just doing is deploying Elasticsearch. Okay, fine, no problem. If that is the case, let's leave that. This has deployed, the first one has deployed Elasticsearch, okay? Now, let's now deploy Kibana separately. Let's deploy Kibana separately, no worries. Let's deploy Kibana mchat. I think it's also inside here anyway. We have Kibana here. We can deploy Kibana separately. We not lose anything. This is Kibana. The first one we deployed is, I think, is Elasticsearch. If it's housing inside, yeah, I think it's this. So let's deploy Kibana. Now, there's a single mchat that has done all these configurations for you. All you just have to do is change one or two values. Okay, so now this is steps for installing Kibana. Let's just see. So it says, okay, this is not Bitnami. This is not Bitnami. Let me use the same Bitnami we've been using. So I'm going to open another tab and search for Kibana. And search for Kibana, and then we deploy Kibana. Kibana. I have no having Kibana here. We not having Kibana. Okay, this is Kibana. All right, so let's follow the steps. Kubernetes. So now this is it, the same step. We said we should add the repo and then install Kibana. You remember the first one was Elasticsearch. Now Bitnami Kibana. I'm going to run deploy now. Let me stop this. Let me start. Sorry, please. I hope it's not complicated. Hello.
Even if it's, we'll go over the video again to custom. So our customer self will be.
Yeah, but so far, hope it's not. Hope you're flowing.
No, I can't really say that I'm flowing from here.
No, if you have a question, please feel free to ask. Please go ahead and ask. What is not clear? What don't you understand? I need you to understand the whole thing, the whole concept.
Well, what are we trying even to achieve with Helm, mchat, and the Kibana?
Okay.
I haven't thought maybe
Kibana is just a tool. I'm just telling you, like, I'm just trying to install any random thing. And I'm trying to show you how it works.
Okay.
You get, but the most important thing you should understand is M. Once you understand M, so you can install anything. Like, you look at it now, all I just searched for is Kibana. And look at it now, it just gave me 3 lines. And then Kibana is up and running. Do you know how much you pay to actually run Kibana on cloud? It's very expensive. To run Kibana on cloud, it's very expensive. Elastic Cloud. Just do Elastic Cloud. Elastic Cloud. You pay through your nose to host this thing in cloud. So instead of hosting it in cloud and just go over it, you can have it yourself. They can give you 30 days free trial. So instead of going through that, you just self-host it. That's what we are doing. And you don't have to do much. Just run 3 commands and if you tweaking and you're up and running. Okay, so that's just what I'm just trying to show. Like, okay, let's just install Kibana and see, just a single command. I'm going to run this single command, and before you know it, Kibana is up and running.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't change the name. Let me change the name to Kibana. So after that, I'll now explain some things to you, and then I think after explaining that, you understand what this is all about. All right, so look at this now. Then Kibana is up and running. Look at it, M upgrade namespace, Kibana, set elastic host, this. Okay, complete your Kibana deployment by running this. What's this? Okay, so this is just a way for pointing the Elasticsearch, but I actually don't want to do that anyway. This is, you see the problem? You did not provide the Elasticsearch external host or port. Look at, it's actually telling us like, please be patient while we get error. You did not specify the Elasticsearch. I told you Elasticsearch is the one that actually collects the logs and do some processing, and then Kibana is just the dashboard. So it's expecting us to give it an endpoint for the Elasticsearch, you know, but then I'm not going to be going into details of that. Now, the next thing I want to do is how to actually work with mchat, official mchat. A minute, please. Let me plug my laptop. It's about to die. Okay, so how can we work with official mchat? Now, when you take a look at this this is Elasticsearch. Instead of using Elasticsearch, let me do a complete cloning of Elasticsearch. ELK, I'm going to call it ELK. ELK actually means Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. That's what ELK means. ELK means Elasticsearch. It's a stack. Just like you used to have your stand, man, you know, all these programmers, you understand all these things now. When you hear man, you know what man means. Each other one again, you know, it's a stack. So which actually means Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. That's what that means. Okay, so now let's look for mchat that has all those. There's an official mchat for that, ELK mchat. So see this? If I can add it, Elastic ELK stack Kubernetes. That will still Elasticsearch of Kubernetes mchat. Elasticstack. Trying to just browse everything to see which is which. So is it this? It's not this. Yeah, okay, let me see if this will point us to the directory. Elasticsearch. Okay, firstly, we GitHub Elastic. No, this is actually done, man. Can I explain this better? Okay, fine. Please let me work with Kibana. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clone this Kibana repo, okay? So that I can use it to explain to you guys. So I'm going to clone this Kibana repo. Let me clone this Kibana repo. This is mchat, okay? Inside the mchat, we have a lot of things. We have APM server, Elasticsearch, 5-bit, helpers, and Kibana. So I'm going to clone it just as it is. And then I'm going to work with it. Git clone. Let's clone the whole mchat. And then let's see what we have. CD into mchat, then Kibana. So we want to work with Kibana. Okay. All right. So now let's see what we have. You see exactly the same theory that we actually had when we actually create Nginx. That's the same thing you have here. You have your test, you have your template, then you have examples. I don't know what is inside these examples. Then you have your makefile. This makefile is just like more or less like a script. Okay. Then you have your values.yam and then you have your chat.yam. So what we are going to be doing basically is we are going to be dealing with this values.yaml. Okay, so now that's everything we'll be doing is inside values.yaml. So let me now tell you another thing. Another thing that people now do is another standard for you to do is you don't touch anything inside an official chat. Okay, instead of touching anything, you create an override. They call it override values. And what that override actually means is like a copy of these values. And you know why? The reason is that if you edit anything, if you delete anything, and if somebody else work on it, you don't have documentation for it. Okay, so instead of editing the original file, you don't. What you just have to do is edit the override. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this values.yam file. I'm going to make a copy. So after I make a copy, let me just do cat values.yaml and then copy it as it is, and then take it to my Sublime, and then edit what I need to edit and take it out. Okay, so let me do this. Let me change this to give it more beauty. So now look at the values.yam file. This is just a configuration for the whole thing. Look at the first one, it's asking for the Elasticsearch host. Okay, so I think the Elasticsearch host now, Elasticsearch host, there's something we also called a Kubernetes DNS. There's something also called Kubernetes DNS. So I can refer to this Elasticsearch using Kubernetes DNS, and it actually follows a particular format. If I'm sure, it has to be the name, the service, and the cluster. Yeah, the name, the namespace. I'll browse it anyway. I can browse it. Let's assume I don't want to specify. Let's assume I don't want to use the IP. You know, I can also use the IP. But since I didn't really expose it like that, so I'm going to be using let me use the DNS name, the Kubernetes DNS.